Imagine this. It's late at night, and you're waiting for your food delivery. Somewhere out there, a driver is braving the elements, navigating dark streets, and heading toward an address they've never seen before. But for some of these drivers, the delivery never ends as expected. What starts as a routine job can quickly spiral into a nightmare. Today, we're delving into 3 true food delivery horror stories that will leave you questioning the seemingly simple act of ordering food. These aren't just tales of inconvenience. They're chilling accounts of terror, danger, and the unexpected. It was supposed to be another routine delivery for James, a DoorDash driver working in a quiet suburb. The order, a kebab platter, was his last for the evening. It had been a long day, and James was eager to finish and head home. He followed the GPS to the address, a modest house tucked away on a quiet street. When he arrived, the porch light flickered ominously. James shrugged it off, chalking it up to poor maintenance, and rang the doorbell. The door swung open, revealing a man in his mid-30s with an expression that immediately set James on edge. The man snatched the food and tore open the container right there on the doorstep. "This food is cold," he barked, his tone accusatory. Before James could respond, the man gestured aggressively for him to step inside. James hesitated but stepped in, thinking the man might want to discuss the issue. But as soon as he crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind him. The man's demeanor shifted from irritation to something more sinister. "You think this is acceptable?" he growled, his voice low and menacing. James tried to explain, mentioning how the food was handed to him fresh, but the man wasn't interested. He began pacing the room, muttering angrily about incompetence and ruined dinners. Then, in an alarming escalation, he blocked the doorway and refused to let James leave. Hours dragged on. James's phone battery had died earlier in the shift, leaving him completely isolated. He felt trapped, his mind racing with scenarios of how this confrontation could turn violent. The turning point came when the man's roommate unexpectedly returned. The sight of someone else breaking the tension gave James the courage to push past his captor and make a run for it. Trembling, he called the police as soon as he reached his car. The police arrived shortly after, arresting the man and uncovering his disturbing history of violent outbursts. While James escaped physically unharmed, the emotional toll was profound. James later reflected that something as simple as delivering a meal had turned into a nightmare. The experience left him questioning his safety with every new address he delivered to, a grim reminder that danger can lurk even in the most mundane of interactions. This story highlights the unpredictable risks faced by food delivery workers who venture into unknown environments every day. For James, it was a lesson in trusting his instincts and prioritizing his safety. Mia, a university student in London, worked part-time as a food delivery driver to cover her expenses. It was a job she enjoyed for the most part, simple, flexible, and relatively uneventful. But one evening, her usual routine took a chilling turn that would stay with her forever. It was a rainy Thursday night when Mia received an order for Chinese takeout from a cozy little restaurant she often visited. The delivery location was a house in a quiet cul-de-sac on the outskirts of town. The area was serene, with dim streetlights casting long shadows over the rain-soaked streets. When Mia arrived, she noticed something peculiar. The front door of the house was slightly ajar, swaying gently with the breeze. The windows were dark, and no lights were visible inside. Assuming the occupants were waiting inside, she stepped onto the porch and called out, "Hello? Your food's here?" Her voice echoed into the silence. A chill ran down her spine, but she brushed it off. Maybe they didn't hear me, she thought, taking a hesitant step closer to the door. That's when she noticed it, a dark, wet streak trailing from the doorway across the porch. Squinting in the dim light, she realized it was blood. Panic gripped her. Mia froze, every instinct screaming at her to leave. Suddenly, movement from inside the house caught her eye. A shadow flickered in the hallway, quick and deliberate. Someone was there. Terrified, Mia dropped the food bag and bolted back to her car, locking the doors as fast as she could. She fumbled for her phone and dialed the police, her hands trembling as she described what she had seen. When the authorities arrived, they discovered a gruesome scene inside the house. Earlier that evening, a violent altercation had taken place, leaving one occupant critically injured and the perpetrator nowhere to be found. Mia's call had likely saved a life by prompting immediate medical attention for the injured victim. Shaken but unharmed, Mia gave her statement to the police and returned home. From that night on, she avoided isolated delivery locations, and every late-night shift reminded her of the shadow she'd seen in that dark hallway. This harrowing experience serves as a chilling reminder of how easily delivery workers can find themselves in dangerous and unpredictable situations, often with no warning of what lies behind the next door. Carlos, a seasoned food delivery rider in São Paulo, Brazil, had seen his share of strange encounters, but nothing could have prepared him for the events of that fateful evening. It started as a typical busy night. Carlos picked up an order from a popular burger joint in the city center. The destination was an upscale office building downtown, and the instructions requested the delivery be made directly to the lobby. It seemed routine, and Carlos hurried to ensure the food arrived on time. When he reached the building, a man wearing a sharp suit met him at the entrance. His demeanor was hurried and nervous, but Carlos didn't think much of it. The man took the bag, handed Carlos a generous tip, and quickly disappeared into the building without saying a word. The encounter felt odd, but Carlos shrugged it off. He had more deliveries to complete and didn't have time to dwell on one strange customer. The next morning, Carlos woke to a barrage of alarming news headlines. A prominent businessman in São Paulo had been poisoned, and the source of the poison was traced back to the very meal Carlos had delivered the previous evening. Panic set in as Carlos realized the seriousness of the situation. He was soon contacted by the police, who wanted to question him about the delivery. Terrified, Carlos recounted every detail he could remember. Thankfully, the investigators quickly cleared him of any wrongdoing, confirming he had no involvement in the crime other than unknowingly delivering the poisoned food. The investigation revealed that the poisoning was part of a calculated plot by the businessman's rival, who had orchestrated the entire scheme and used the delivery as a means to carry it out. Carlos, unfortunately, had become an unwitting participant in a dangerous and malicious act. Though he was exonerated, the ordeal left Carlos shaken. He began questioning every order and scrutinizing every delivery request, haunted by the knowledge of how easily his job had been exploited. Carlos's story is a stark reminder of the unseen risks delivery drivers face. What seems like an ordinary task can sometimes have sinister undertones, with devastating consequences for everyone involved. For Carlos, that night became a permanent reminder to stay vigilant, even in a job as seemingly straightforward as food delivery. These stories reveal a haunting truth. The seemingly simple job of food delivery hides risks that are far from ordinary. Each tale reminds us of how quickly a routine task can spiral into something terrifying, leaving lasting scars on those involved. For James, an angry customer's frustration turned into a harrowing hostage situation. Mia's delivery to what seemed like an ordinary home placed her face to face with a crime scene, and Carlos unknowingly became entangled in a sinister plot, showing how easily delivery workers can be drawn into the schemes of others. If these stories left you unsettled, take a moment to think about the risks these workers take to ensure your meal reaches your doorstep. Delivery drivers deserve our respect and understanding, as they navigate not just traffic, but sometimes unexpected threats. Stay vigilant, whether you're working as a delivery driver or welcoming one to your door. Always trust your instincts and prioritize your safety. If these stories kept you on edge, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on more tales that will leave you questioning the everyday. Until next time, stay safe and stay alert. You never know what could be waiting just around the corner.